Hello, folks, and welcome, fine folks, and welcome to Booghy Plays. Today I'm not playing, I'm playing with questions again. And my guest today is um, the owner, the president, the everything from Spielworxx, from a niche German company. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. Without further ado, oh, his name is Uli Blennemann, of course. And without further ado, let's go. Hello, Uli, and welcome to Booghy Plays.
Yeah, hello. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And yes, I'm doing everything at Spielworxx. I'm also chief bottle washer. So
That's nice. um, Welcome. Like I said, you are CEO, CFO, and everything at Spielworxx. Spielworxx is a German publishing company, a niche one who has a special way of making business, and we'll be talking about this. And it is one of my favorite game companies, and that's why I'm very happy to have you here with me and doing this interview. I hope you feel fine, and I hope you feel comfortable here in our virtual gaming room on our virtual comfy chairs. Can you see it now?
yes, of course. So I'm feeling really comfortable here. So it's nice being here.
Thank you. So we'll do practically. We almost did the same interview 2 years ago, but the quality was so bad, and I had a lot of problems. Now the quality is better. I have better things to do to work with, and so in a way, let's try to redo it, but a bit different. And we'll start from the beginning. Uli, where were you born?
I was born here in the Ruhr area in Germany, so in the industrial heart of Germany, so not too far from the Essen convention side, so from the Essen fair side. So if you have ever traveled to Essen to the gaming convention Spiel, then you know not too far from that, it's a town called Hattingen, but in the same area. Yeah.
And where did you grow up?
Same place. So I spent my first 37 years in Hattingen, so in the Ruhr area, and then we moved further north.
So let's say that the Hattingen was, is it, I pronounced it correctly,
Yeah, fine.
was shaped your childhood shapes one person in a way or another. How did your childhood shaped you as a person first, and then as a person who likes games?
Yeah, to start with the good question, to start with the latter half. So in Germany at that time, so we are now talking about the 70s. It was common that parents played games with their kids, with their children. And so my parents played very early the familiar German traditional games with me. I have a 3 years older brother, so I could play games with him. So games were always a part of my early life, and this did not ever change. Of course, when you're a teenager, you don't play board games with your parents, but with friends and with my older brother. How did the Ruhr area shape myself as a person? This is difficult to say, but the Ruhr area is an area where people really, at that time, had to work hard because it's the area of coal mining and of steel and steel production. Coal, of course, is not an issue anymore in the Ruhr area, but it was at my time. And steel production is very much reduced. It's still happening, but not in Hattingen anymore. But actually, my father, he worked at a steel plant in Hattingen till it was, yeah, dismantled. Actually, it was a part was moved at that time to China actually in the 90s. Um, so I'm not sure if this really shaped me, but probably yes. But at that time, it was also a pretty modern area because at Bochum, which is another city in the Ruhr area, next to Hattingen, a larger city, there's also a modern university, only built in the 60s. So because more and more people from the Ruhr areas weren't necessarily workers, but moved to university, and I was able to move to that university too, while still living in Hattingen, because everything is close by. And yeah, but I had so many friends and neighbors to play with, so that was a pretty good childhood, in my opinion.
So practically, being in as you picture it, it wasn't being an industrial area. It wasn't. It was more of a let's say not necessarily a very joyful place, or not. How should I put it?
But you're right. It was the industrial heart of Germany, the Ruhr area, and at that time, and I
It
remember
was
this.
black. It was. it.
Yeah, it was there was a lot of dirt, of course, from the
Yeah.
plant. I remember if you had your washings outside, and if the steel plant, if they blew smoke, you better took your stuff in, because otherwise it was black afterwards. Or on the roofs of a car, and everything was black. So it's difficult to imagine this nowadays. Of course, we have now much better environment regulations, but at that time it was produce anything you want to do, and that's what is important. Yeah.
Make as much money as you can. And how did that impact you as a child?
Very difficult to say. So of
Did you
course,
want to get out of there fast? Did you want to work in the steel plant? Did you?
no, no, I never wanted to work in over there. Definitely not. But I never also at that time I did not think about moving out of that area. So I was quite happy because there were so many people of my age there. I was in the local football club playing, and in the Ruhr area, football is the major sports attraction. So that was also very nice. My favorite team from the Bundesliga, from the first division, is in Gelsenkirchen, so Schalke 04.
Schalke.
So, and that's Gelsenkirchen. Schalke is also part of the Ruhr area, so very easy to reach for me too, to see games. I played games, so at that time I thought this is a very nice area to live in. Only later, I noticed too many people in a pretty small, compact area, too much traffic, too much noise, and so I wanted to move to a different area with less people, where it is quieter, where you can enjoy actually the surroundings, and where it is a lot more rural. Yeah.
So in a way, it did shape you because you wanted a different environment, practically.
Yes, but not at that time. At that time, I was quite.
Later, because yeah, in a way, our adulthood is very much informed about from our childhood. Our adult, we in a way we always go back to our inner child and try to satisfy him now more than we managed to do back then.
Yes,
Uh,
I agree 100%. You're correct. Of course, if you're living in this time, and especially if you're a lot younger, you'll notice don't notice it that much. Yeah.
so, how did outside parents who played with you when you were a child. Um, did you find that an annoying activity with your parents, or did you enjoy it very much
I
while as
enjoyed
a child?
I enjoyed it very much because they taught me some games, and so that was good. Only a little bit later, when you're 9, 10, 11 years, you want to play with friends and not with your parents anymore. So, but I had a regular gaming partner, always ready to play with my older brother. But in our neighborhood, there were so many kids of roughly my age range, so you could always find other people to play with, other kids. So, of course, in the summer, spring, we played outside. We played football or something else. We moved to the woods and played traditional games. But of course, in winter or in other, we played some simple card games. We played Monopoly. We played Risk. We played Stratego, and all these very common games. And this was fantastic.
Uh-huh. Oh, so practically, you began to be a gamer since you were a child.
Yes, so I cannot remember a time where I did not play some games. So for me, this is a natural thing. Yeah, all
Uh,
my life.
and when did you start playing as a? Did you have a hiatus? Did you have a period between your childhood and your adulthood when you didn't play games, or you played games continually?
Continually. So really continually. In 79, I was 14, and my brother and I saw an ad for US produced games, and so war games. But they were available in a shop in Germany, and you could mail order them. So we ordered our first game, and we were immediately hooked. So even in our teenage days, we did not stop playing. But then, of course, 79, 80, 81, the focus of our games changed completely. So gone were the days of Risk and Monopoly and all this stuff. We moved to two-player hex and counter war games, but we also discovered diplomacy. So we played that a lot. We played Civilization by Avalon Hill. Then later, Advanced Civilization. We played a lot of Cosmic Encounter by Eon games. I still have the box here behind, so it's from 80 or 81, and it looks like, yeah, it really looks like a game that is more than 40 years old. Yeah, and this completely changed. So, but we were continuously playing, so all the time. I cannot remember a time without playing games.
Ooh. And so when did you those are, let's say, classic games. There is a shift, I
Mhm.
would say it, when after 94, 95, after Catan and a few more games started to appear, when there was a refocus on board games.
Mhm.
um, when did you discover, let's call them, modern board games?
I discovered modern board games in the 80s when the Spiel des Jahres games appeared.
Appeared,
But
yeah.
at that time, we thought these games are not cool at all. So we looked at them. Maybe we played a few of the early Spiel des Jahres games, but they did not make an impression. This only changed when with the games that you mentioned earlier with Catan, of course, Settlers of Catan, that made a huge impression because the game was different, was really, it felt more modern than, of course, El Grande and Tikal and all these games. It changed our attitude towards German type games. At that time, they weren't really called Euro type games, but more German type games. But still, we love to play war games, and we love to play Avalon Hill type games. But German games were an addition.
um, what kind of a player are you, and how did you change during time? During time,
Um,
you were or when you were a child, you played simple games. Then you started to find war games, and you became a gamer. Where did this journey take you?
I still love to play war games, but of course it's a time problem. Lots of war games take a lot of time to continue to finish. A lot of my wargaming time is spent in front of the computer. So we play a lot of board games via Vessel. And so because you can stop after 60, 90, 120 minutes and the game is, and you simply save the game and you continue when you have time again. So I'm doing this a lot. But war games to play on the table, this is rarely done, only at convention these days. And among the Euro type games, I first loved the most complex ones. But this has changed gradually. I still like the more complex ones, but not the most complex ones necessarily. Sometimes, if there is too much Chrome, I'm saying, no, this is not my game. So, or you may know that I did Orcrite
Yeah,
via Spielworxx. And at that time, I really loved it. And I still think that Stefan, the designer, Stefan Risthaus, did a tremendous job on this game.
yeah.
But I haven't played the game in years because I now, with Eurotype games, I prefer the somewhat more simple games. But I'm not a family type gamer and I don't play the really light ones. And because I don't have time for short games. So I don't want to play 4 games in an evening. This seems like a waste of time to me. But yeah, maybe in 10 years I'm saying something different and I'm saying, no, let's play a game that just takes 15 minutes to finish. But no, not at this time.
So, are you a medium type Euro gamer? That's what you would prefer these days, man. Medium to heavy.
Medium to heavy,
Medium
medium.
to.
In Germany, it's still that my preference is towards heavy games. In the US, overseas, it's a little bit different. It would be medium to heavy because they have a slightly different complexity scale than over here in Germany.
Um, so you are a gamer. You were playing. You are having a wonderful life, and all of a sudden you wanted to be a publisher. How did that come?
Yeah, actually, because I didn't really knew what to do. So my final days at university, and I studied history and Eastern European history and politics, and it was very difficult to find a job in this field unless you wanted to become a teacher, which I never wanted to be because my mother was a teacher, and I know that this is a really hard job. And I thought because I was still pretty young, let's form a game company. This must be great and easy, and you publish your own game. So I did this.
How hard can it be? How
Yeah,
hard can it be?
how hard can it be? And it must be great. And so I did this. In 93, I formed Moments in History. I was at university studying history, so I was a war gamer, so I thought I do historical games. And that's what I did. So I formed that company and I published games till early 99. So Moments in History under my regime was from 93, first game published in 94 till early 99.
And then, then,
Then I stopped because it was a little bit like Candid Camera. So early 99, and I'm at home and there's a phone call, and somebody from the US is saying, I want to buy Moments in History. And I really thought this must be a joke. This is Camera. because actually there was no real value in moments in history. There was no depth at all. So good, so far so good. But I didn't have any classics or anything, or I didn't have any real stock because I moved through my pretty limited print runs pretty quickly. And yeah, of course, stock can be also a negative, but it can be a positive. But we finished the deal within less than 30 days. So, and I sold Moments in History to a US publisher. And that was very nice. And I was very lucky. And
You found yourself with an influx of cash without without
absolutely.
without wanting it.
Absolutely. Yeah, but it was really surprising. It was a huge surprise, and that was fine. And at that time, I thought, what to do now? And I mentioned earlier that I played football, and I had also a coaching license.
Did you play professionally?
No, no, no. Say, I got some money from it, but it was still amateur level in Germany. But at that time, if you are playing in the Ruhr area and have some talent, you got some money,
Uh-huh.
and which was nice. And also, I got a coaching license. So, and I was a football coach.
Football, yeah. Within Europe, we can say football.
Exactly. You're 100% correct. So I had a coaching license. I coached a team, and I was sitting there and reading a magazine called Fußballtraining. So it's not um, about results from games, but about the background, how to coach, what to do, which new trends in there. So I got this magazine regularly by subscription. I was reading in it, and there was an advertisement. We are looking for a new writer who also has a official German coaching license. And I said, well, it can't hurt. Give them give them a call, and they invited me, and I was the new writer for that magazine, for that publisher. And that was fine. It was a good job. Um, but you have to see if you are used always. So I was first a student, and then I was working for Moments in History for my own company. And now suddenly I had to be in an office, start at a certain time, and end at a certain time. So even if your article isn't ready at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you quit for the day,
You go
go
home.
home, and next day you continue. And this was very alien to me. To and A good friend of mine, also a wargamer from the Netherlands, he gave me a call in 2001, and he said, Uli, why shouldn't we two form another games company? And after some considerations, after some talks, I said, yeah, let's do so. And so I quit my football writing job.
Career, your football running career.
It was nice. So really good job, and in a field that I'm interested in. So it was really something. So I even moved to once, or no, several times to Schalke. So to talk to the coaches over there, to see what they are doing. So it was interesting, but
I,
it wasn't the same thing as working on games.
I think in that time Schalke was really good in
Yes.
those times. No, I think it was.
Then then nowadays, although last season was pretty good, we made it again to the Bundesliga, and yeah,
No, I think they were in Europe. I mean, they were good back then in the early 2000s.
yeah. In 2001, they were for a couple of minutes they were even champion, but the
Yeah, yeah.
Bayern Munich hadn't finished their game, and they scored. There were even celebrations already in Schalke in the stadium. I was there live, and that would have been the first championship since '58. But you could see on the video screen the last couple of minutes of the Bayern Munich game, and they scored in the 93rd or 94th minute, and then it was over again.
Oh yeah, yeah, but they were good. So there were good times for you to be a writer then.
Yeah, it was fun. It was actually a good job. The magazine is still around. Football, as you know, is still big. It's bigger than ever, much bigger than in the early 2000s or in the 90s or in the 80s, because of the money from television and from international football. But it's not the same thing as working in the board gaming field, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, and well, you left your well-paying future career, great career,
Yeah,
as as a writer, and you did what?
I became brand manager for Farlands Games, and there is still a Farlands Games around from Poland, but this was Farlands Games in the Netherlands, but it had a German division and also an English language division. And the Polish guys actually they bought the name from Farlands Games to use.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
Farlands Games in the Netherlands is long defunct, and the Polish ones, which have no connection, of course, anymore to Farlands Games Netherlands, they are still around. So I worked from Germany. I worked from home. Great times. We had some really, really nice games at that time. We were once nominated for Game of the Year in 2004 with Maharaja in Germany called Raja by Kramer Kiesling.
Kramer and Keating. Yep, I did the playthrough few days ago. It is rebooted by Cranio. It was rebooted by Cranio.
Yeah, I know this, and I don't want to say anything bad here. In my opinion, maybe I'm mistaken, but you know this, of course. Cranio now has victory points to win the game, right?
Yep.
And in my opinion, what made the game shine that much, that it was a race game. So the first player
The
to
first one to build the seventh, no?
and of course, most race games are most difficult to design. Because if you fall too far behind, you do not have an incentive to continue playing.
Yep.
So everything needs to be super tight. But of course, Kramer Kiesling, they are masters of the craft. And in my opinion, this is, if you can make this really tick, it's much better than win by victory points.
Yeah,
Of course,
it is.
clear. But we did not win Game of the Year because at that time we were competing. There was just a single category, so no Kennerspiel and no kids game. So it was just Spiel des Jahres, and there were 5 nominees, and we were competing with
Which year?
2004, I think. We were competing with Ticket to Ride, so Zug um Zug.
Yeah.
And we were competing also with Einfach Genial, Genius by Rainer Knizia, by Cosmos. And before, everybody was saying this is a 50-50 race. It's either Zug um Zug, Ticket to Ride, or Genius, Einfach Genial. Really, before the prize award ceremony, it wasn't clear that Ticket to Ride would win.
It, yeah.
It's one of the few real classics, of course. But before that, people said, well, it can be either that game or that game. And we were nominated, huge honor, but we knew before the ceremony, it's not us.
Yeah, but you are there. You are up there with Ticket to Ride.
Yes, it was nice. We had some other great games, in my opinion. We had Mesopotamia by Klaus-Jürgen Wrede, who did, of course, Carcassonne. We had Pakai Paul. The English title is Hey, That's My Fish. That has gone through so many editions.
Yeah, it's Fantasy Flight now.
Exactly. It's still around after almost 20 years.
Yeah, it is.
we did the first professional edition. There was an amateur edition by Günther Cornett, the author. I think he did at Essen 200 copies, and I got one of the 200 copies. I played it, loved it. We did the game professionally, and it's still around.
Yep.
So we had a couple of good games, but we did too many games. So there were, frankly, some games which were okay, but not really good. Yeah.
Well, sometimes this happens when you want to do too much.
Yeah.
You want to do too many games.
Yeah.
So, when did that chapter end, and when did the Spielworxx chapter begin?
So Spielworxx was started in 2010. And in 2009, I told Michael, the boss of Farlands Games, who is also the owner of 999 Games, the largest game company in the Netherlands, I told him that I want to leave and I want to do my own games again, like earlier with Moments in History, because it's something different to do the games that you love or get games on your desk and you need to develop them. Some of the games at Farlangs I brought in, like Pakai Sampol, Hey, That's My Fish, or Mesopotamia, but some were just acquired and you had to develop them. So I told Michael, I think it's now time to quit. And I started Spielworxx. And the idea was to do it a little bit like Moments in History, a little bit different. Moments in History in the 90s did war games with English rules. And now I localized American war games with German rules in very low print runs, so 500 copies. The first game was Washington's War by GMT Games, designer Mark Herman, and so the first couple of titles of Spielworxx were US war games localized.
And when did you get your first game?
So that was 2010 Washington's War, and the first real Euro games where I had worldwide rights.
Yep. The first Spielworxx game, practically. The first.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. You see, my memory is it's not that good. It was either from Martin Wallace, Zeitalter der Vernunft. Yeah, I think so. It was or was it from Thomas Spitzer, Ruhrschifffahrt? I'm not sure. One of these. I got, suddenly I had worldwide rights, so I did German and English rules, and I increased the print run. I'm not sure if for that game, but for later ones from 500 to 1,000 copies. And that became pretty much, with some exceptions, my general model. So I think it was Martin Wallace's game, which is actually a different version than Struggle of Empires. So somewhat changed game, yeah.
And the first game which really took Spielworxx to my attention was La Granja. This is the first game. This is when I have noticed Spielworxx.
I think this.
How did it come to? How did everything happen?
Yeah, you have to see. At that time, there were fewer publishers than nowadays. And especially in Germany, there were also fewer publishers that did higher complexity games. We both know La Granja is not super complex, but it's a gamer's game. And another feature is that for new designers, it's very difficult to get published. It's like in the book trade. If you have already 1, 2, 3 books published with publishers, it's very easy to get your 4th or 5th book published. But Spielworxx to this day is attracting a lot of newcomer designers. And the final thing that was pretty important is that one of the 2 designers, La Granja is by Ode and Mike Keller, that Ode is living pretty close to me. So he is also from the region I'm now living in, so he could visit me, show me the game. We played the game, we worked on the game. So that these were the factors. And actually, he tried to, at least to my knowledge, from again my memory, he tried to have the game considered by other publishers, but they said at this time, no, newcome designer, pretty complex games, and we are not interested in.
So yeah, I wanted to ask you. I have noticed that you do give a lot of. You are open to new designers, and you give them a chance. What makes Spielworxx? Spielworxx model is small print run, and then if another company likes the game, you will sell the rights in order to get a bigger print run.
Yeah. Mhm.
How did you come to this
Yeah,
solution?
it's simply my model because I think that the distribution model in the industry is broken. So it's really not working. So the publisher gets just a small fraction of the money, and you're losing a lot to your distribution, retail, and other partners. So and I really need to sleep well. So I can finance small print runs, but I cannot necessarily finance larger print runs. So my risk is a little bit lower in this way. So of course, it would have been much smarter if I would have done a lot more than 1,000 copies of La Granja. But at that time, I did not knew will it really take off. And then, of course, if a game really takes off, I can license the game to other partners. But of course, this is also becoming more and more difficult because there are now so many games on the market. And of course, publishers want to cherry pick. They are not saying, I take everything from Spielworxx in the future. They may take this one and then they may be interested in another title 2 years later.
Yeah.
So this is cherry picking, but I'm not depending on another print run. It's very nice if I can license the game to other publishers afterwards, but if not, then not.
Yeah. You do have Spielworxx as a publisher is a sort of a niche. I would say it covers a niche. There are certain games which are off the beaten path a bit. They are I wouldn't say people pleasers. They are games which try to tell a story and to have tight mechanisms.
Mhm.
Um, do you think this kind of uh, this kind of a niche has a future?
I think so. I think that more and more people who are gamers want to have games that tell a story, that are strong in narrative. They aren't necessarily taking or need a game that is balanced, balanced, balanced. How often actually do you play a game these days? Will you really notice if some aspects are not 100% balanced? I don't think it's that important. More important is the game experience. And even if the game is not 100% up your alley, I think you can have a great time because a lot of my games are somewhat different. Take a look at The Cost, which is a game about the asbestos industry. And in my opinion, it's mechanically fantastic, but it also is a serious board game. And we do not have a lot of serious board games these days. So I think it's important to have this, and hopefully it allows Spielworxx to stay in business for the next couple of years. You never know.
um, what is fun to you?
Good, very good question. Excellent question. But I think fun is a much, or maybe one of the most overused words in gaming. Fun. I'm not in gaming for the giggles, for fun. Fun is to experience something for me, but I do not need to laugh all the time. Of course, even in some serious games, if you are playing with a good group, there will be laughter. Somebody tells a story, what he did yesterday, and we are laughing. But still, the game doesn't need to be fun in a light way. I'm not saying that all games should be like this. Of course, if you're playing with your friends, if you have a trick-taking game for 10 minutes, it doesn't have to be serious. It should not even be serious, but fun is, for me, really a term that is often very wrongly used, and it's also overused in gaming. You have to see, in video games, we are, although this is a much younger genre than board games, they have matured in a great way. We have games for all categories. In board gaming, we are only now having some serious games like This War Is Mine, the board game edition, like The Cost, maybe also like my colonialism, which is a very serious topic, and it has some really stark graphics. We have, of course, the games by Cole Worley, which tell a great story. An Infamous Traffic or John Company tell you something about what the East Indian Company did, what has happened in China, but there isn't that much. But of course, not all games need to be like this. But there is room for a lot of different things.
Yeah. What is your most played game?
Oh, another excellent question. Very difficult to say. In the last 3 years, it's 100%. It's Pax Pamir second edition. I did the German edition of this one, and in the pandemic, we played this game online with 2, 3, 4, or 5 players all the time. So I played lots of that one. But over the years, over the last decades, very difficult to say. Very difficult to say. We played a lot of Diplomacy, although it's that long. I played several hundred games of this one, also by mail. And
Several hundred.
And not only, and if I'm saying play by mail, I'm meaning really by mail in the 80s. So not by email, because there was no internet. So we posted our next move to some other. We, by phone, made negotiations, and there were some magazines. So of course, fanzines, not real magazines, where the results then of the last turn were posted. I played tons of Cosmic Encounter, so which is still with me.
I love Cosmic Encounter. It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
And I had the pleasure to meet one of the designers, Peter Olotka, in 2019 only. So in late 2019,
40 years, no? It's in 79, I think it appeared, no? 79?
Yes. So, and he's an outstanding character. Of course, he's older, but I think Peter Olotka is one of the people who shaped our industry because of Cosmic Encounter, but also with some other great games they did. They were ahead of the times. They are really giants, the original Eon team.
Yeah, taking into consideration that Dune went through Rex, then went back to Dune, and still holds up today.
Yes,
you're right.
It is fantastic. And Hoax, I may be wrong, again, my bad memory, but they did also in the early 80s, they did Hoax, and this is one of the first games of this hidden traitor genre. It didn't work that well, but they were always innovative. Really great person. And it was really my pleasure to talk to Peter Orlotka in person in 2019 about games. And I was so much of a fanboy. It was fantastic. But he has a great sense of humor. He's a great character, so wonderful times. Yeah.
And what is your favorite game?
Also very difficult to say. It changes when my mood changes. But right now, if I now have to pick it, I'd say An Infamous Traffic by
Infamous Traffic.
Booghy. So it's, in my opinion, it has everything. So, and hopefully there will be, I know there will be a new edition after a while. So by Whirligig, by the company of
Of
Drew.
course, yeah, Drew and Cold, yeah.
Depends when they want to do this. And I really hope that the original and the Infamous Traffic will stay in that new package as a classics edition. Of course, these are great people. They will add something, but I want to have this pure experience of an Infamous Traffic that it's really kept. So right now, I'd say it's my favorite game. Of course, it's not for everyone. You should play with 4 or 5, although the box says 5. And the topic is not for everyone, but it's fantastic. It's really outstanding.
Um, that's a game I wanted to try for a long, long time. I just couldn't get a copy. And I wanted to ask you before we end this, two more questions before we end this, and then we go to a small questionnaire. How important do you think a developer is today?
Very important, very, very important, because a good developer can turn a rough diamond into a polished one. But again, it really depends what you want to achieve with a game. Let's say you are really having a diamond in your hand, and you hand it to the developer, and he polish it that much so that all edges are gone, so that it's really as smooth as possible. It may be tiny afterwards. And in my opinion, it is preferable to have the developer still have in this game maybe 1 or 2. Some would say, well, this is a mistake or something is in there, but some quirks in there, but the diamond is larger and the diamond has character. This is, in my opinion, much more important. So it depends. I cannot work with all developers, although I know a lot, but I know how they work. And with some, although they are great, I don't want to work with them because I know afterwards the game will be like 50 others. In contemporary times in Euro game design, we have these games. You move to the left, you get 3 points. You move to the right, you get 4 points. You move ahead, you get 5 points. So you always get rewards. And again, this is because of video games, because in video games these days, you get something favorable every other minute. Somebody, even if you are performing pretty badly, somebody is patting you on your shoulder and saying you are great because they want to keep you in the game. And this is coming for some years also. It has it is creeping
Creeped.
in board design, and in my opinion, this is not a good thing. But yeah, what do I know? And most people, of course, like it because they are used to it from video games, from other games. We often like stuff that we are familiar with. So
Yeah,
if you
accustomed to. Yeah,
really exactly. So in looks, in visual, but also in game experience. It is what it is.
yeah. And I'm going to end the questionnaire with, who is your favorite designer?
Oh, Also very difficult. Good question again, and very difficult. I'd say I'd love to mention my two favorite designers, and there are so many other outstanding designers. So forgive me if I'm not mentioning you right now, but it is
They will not work with you from now on.
so they will definitely stop talking to me. So it will be a lonely life from now on for me. But my favorite ones are Mark Herman and Cole Worley.
Cool,
These two.
okay.
And when I'm talking to them, I'm in fanboy mode too. So great designs.
Yeah. Um, I think I think you're right. I cannot contradict you. They're great
Okay.
designers. They're great designers. And would you want to add something I might have missed asking you?
No, you had excellent questions. So this was wonderful. And probably I talked way too much.
No, no, no,
Anyway,
no, no.
um,
Because we need to finish with a questionnaire. So
okay.
we need to finish with a questionnaire, which is a questionnaire. I also said to Ben, which I interviewed before you. I said I blatantly stole from Bernard Pivot, and which is a and from James Lipton, um, and it is derived from the very big Proust questionnaire. If people don't know, they should look through that questionnaire. There's a questionnaire when you're 13 years old and the questionnaire when you are 21 years old. Unfortunately, I did not. I found about them way later than I was 21. But well, I'm asking you now. What's your favorite word? And you can say it even in German because it's kind of interesting to hear a word and hear its music vibes. Let's say
My favorite word.
word.
This changes all the time. Right now, I'd say komoot. It's a German word which isn't used anymore, but I like it. It's old-fashioned, like I'm also old-fashioned, so that's good.
What does it say? Well, come on.
A commode is if something is good or you are happy with what happened. I'd say, auch das ist für mich kommod,
Uh-huh.
and this is good for me. But nobody is using this word anymore. But I like it. It has a nice tune.
And it makes you feel special.
Ah,
Um,
maybe yes.
and what's your least favorite word?
Fun in gaming. Um, yeah, maybe this one actually. So I think it's overused. So maybe I stick with fun.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, emotionally?
Um, Creatively, definitely experiencing new stuff or stuff that is now used in a new way. So I really love this. Emotionally, nowadays it's not that much also football, but it's more hockey. So ice hockey. I'm very much now a hockey guy, and if I can see a game live, I'm a different person. You don't want to see me at this time, but of course during the pandemic it was very difficult, so I need to watch a television, and even then I'm a different person. But I'm living a very quiet life in this rural environment, and I work on games, so most of the time quietly, and there it's something completely different.
You go crazy. That's your go crazy moment.
Yes.
And what turns you off?
Ah, a lot of things, unfortunately. I'm grumpy quickly. So people, you just see black or white, and most things are gray. And or in social media, that you are having a very strong opinion and disregard all the others. That you can't reflect on things. Maybe somebody else is right as well. yeah, it turns me off, and social media in general turns me off in a big
Yeah,
way.
yeah, I'm with you there. Um, but we cannot live without it. What's your favorite, and be prepared for this, curse word?
Curse word. Oh, so many. You don't want to. I'd say
What?
again, very old words. I have two, and really not used that much. It's Dutchkappe, Germany, Dutchkappe, or Arschböller.
Ashburn.
Uh, Arschböller. These are my favorite two curse words, but actually nobody uses that too, so you can use them.
Okay. What sound or noise do you love?
Crowds at Iserlohn, my favorite club. If when a goal is scored, I like the sound of some music, but otherwise I prefer it if it's quiet. So
You
I
like
can
the quietness.
I like I can live without most sounds easily.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Most of them, traffics. I hate car sound. Although now with electric cars it's getting better. Um, um, yeah, or if somebody is mowing
Lawn.
their turf, their lawn with a mower that still uses gasoline, which is very loud. I hate it. I hate it. And we have one or two neighbors here who are doing it in this way. I hate it. Um, yeah, but most sounds I don't like too much. Yeah.
Which profession outside of your own would you like to attempt?
Attempt
Yeah, to
basically
try.
nothing. I would love to be a good writer, so not a sports writer, but to really write a book or do something. But I'm missing the talent. And of course, when I was very young and I was playing in the football club, in my football club, I dreamed of becoming a professional football player. But of course, you need some talent. If you're not that good, you won't make it. At that time, they seemed to be a dream. Actually, when you are later working in this field, even just for 2 years, you notice how difficult these young people have it because their life is they don't live their own life. They hardly can do something, just go in this direction always and don't look left or right because the air is so thin at the top. It's really most difficult, and a lot of talented players never make it to the top because they are not prepared to give
Prepared, yeah, to go there. Yeah.
to 100% of their life for their career. But as a kid, I would love to do this.
What profession you would that you, outside yours you would not like to attempt?
Definitely, I wouldn't have wanted to become a teacher, as I said, because you're in front of a class of people, of young people, and you have to act, and you are always visible. In a way, you are naked in front of 30 people because they can do anything they want. And then on top of that, you have the parents who think you are an idiot. Well, in my case, they would have been probably right, but still, it's not, in my opinion. But I noticed how hard it was for my mother. So, a teacher, yeah, of course, really, really hard manual work like my father did or some others in the rural areas. This is not something, or I'm very happy that I didn't have to do this.
Those things, yeah.
was hard.
Yeah.
Do this for 30 or 40 years, yeah, you
Yeah.
are actually you are spent. Yeah.
And my last question: if heaven exists, what you expect God to say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
What do you want to hear? So definitely there must be a mistake that you are up here. So most probably, if he's in a good mood, or if they are in a good mood, they would maybe say, well, the ice rink is over there, and suddenly in heaven I can skate and I can play hockey because I can hardly skate and I can't play hockey. So maybe then suddenly, so I can skate very well and play hockey. I'd love to do this, but not on Earth because this is not good for me and also not good for anybody else.
Um, Uli, thank you very much for being here. Thank you for this interview. It was a lot of fun. I hope it was you found it relaxing. I hope you found it nice. You spent a nice hour here in our company, here in our virtual game room, in our virtual comfy chairs.
It was really my pleasure. It was a lot of fun, and I thank you that you had some questions that were outside of the norm. And I think this is really important. So thank you for your preparation also for this hour. And I felt really very welcome in my comfort chair.
I'm glad. I will just do an outro, the outro as usual. Thank you again, sir. It was a real pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Mhm.
Well, for everyone who watched live, I want to thank you. For everyone who watches after the fact, I want to thank you. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe because keeps the internet alive. And it's free. Also, it helps the channel with now. Yeah, it helps. It helps, and it will tell that YouTube algorithm that you like what's here, and that algorithm will show you when something happens here. I want to thank Uli for this interview. There will be many more, and I hope you will enjoy them. Until next time, I can only tell you to play a lot, play loads, have fun, and bye-bye world, wherever you are. No, not you, not you. Not you. I was just